I just read that 3 million people still receive DVDs in the mail from Netflix. Do you live in the Stone Ages? Hello, cult members. Welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is the big shoe.
The really big shoe.
The really big shoe. I gotta find where he says that.
Yes.
Where I gotta find that. That's some Google food that I haven't really had to flex those muscles in a while.
Yeah. I think it's one of the old guys.
Oh my God, the name was just there. He had the Beatles and Elvis on, and
I want to say Ed McMahon, but that's not it.
It's older than that. Oh, you internet, be very nice. Remind us who it is. Ed Sullivan?
Ed Sullivan, there you go.
Never mind, I got it.
See, I knew there was an Ed.
There's an Ed in there, yes. Yes, this is the big show. We're going to talk about some stuff, and it's kind of going to be a little all over the place. We talked about this last week. We're kind of in the dog days of summer right now.
Yes.
We're not really to the award season for movies yet, and all the fall premieres don't really start until mid to late October.
And the summer blockbusters have already happened.
Yeah. The Arrow, Stephen Amell released the first poster for the Arrow season.
Cool.
And it's fucking unbelievable. It's just him, beat all hell, in his prison, in a big ass beard with the prison behind him, and his comment was, "Green is the new black."
Nice.
Now I want to point out at this point in time, I'm really done with the is the new black thing. Okay, it was cool. That was cool. Like 8 months ago. Move on.
No,
However,
longer than that.
However, it's appropriate here because he's in prison. So, and he's been talking about how much he's been getting beat up and filming and stuff this year. So,
yes, yeah.
So yeah, he's super excited about this season, and so am I.
And begin.
So we want to first of all thank you for coming here and seeing what we're going to talk about this week in the big show. I'll actually say it the right way once. But what we ask from you is two things. One, we ask you subscribe to the channel. You're here already. It costs you nothing. It means nothing just to go up and hit the little bell, change it from red to gray, and hit the bell. That's all one thing. Hit the bell so you get notifications when we're uploading trailer reactions and movie reviews and all that kind of stuff. Mile 22's got 175 views on it for our review of Mile 22.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that one. But we ask you that you just subscribe. It doesn't mean anything, doesn't cost anything, and
Well, it means something to us.
It means a lot to us because the more subscribers we have, the more traffic we get. The more traffic we get, the more people we can interact with. The more people we interact with, the better the conversation can be.
Right.
And then someday Patreon. The other thing that we ask too is, on that vein, to please share this channel and maybe this video with your friends and say, hey, these two idiots are on TV on my computer and they're talking about stuff that they may or may not know what they're talking about, but they're slinging some poo, and they sometimes are funny, and sometimes my wife rolls her eyes at me, and that's pretty much the show. I am not reinventing the wheel here, but we ask that you subscribe to the channel, share with your friends. That's all we ask for now.
For now.
So we're gonna get into it. Like I said, all over the place. We're gonna start off this week's big show with amazing Comic-Con Aloha.
Aloha. Did you know that aloha means hello and goodbye?
Aloha means a hola. No. Yeah.
No.
I knew that it means hello and goodbye. I knew that.
I was trying to share some wisdom here.
And takalakamiki is the thing to say on a bright Hawaiian holiday. No. That's racist.
It's a song.
It is. And now I have what's the Elvis Hawaii
Tiny Bubbles.
it's something like that. Anyways, we're off track already. We're 4 minutes in and we're already off the rails. I told you, a couple of idiots talking on the computer. So they were supposed to have Amazing Comic-Con Aloha this weekend, this very last weekend. on the Big Island in Hawaii, and so they kind of got canceled because
There was a little bit of rain.
because the hurricane came in and like when they show the map, the aerial map, and you see the islands of Hawaii, and they're like it's like 5 little dots in the ocean. But it's still cool. Well, the dots were gone because there was a giant hurricane over the top of it. And they're not exactly close to each other either. And so they made the decision, I think it was Thursday, to go ahead and cancel the con, reschedule the con.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really good decision on their part. Collider Frosty was actually on Twitter saying, my bags were packed and we were ready to go when I was going to Hawaii and doing Comic-Con, and they canceled.
Yeah.
But Collider was going to do some stuff with them. They have rescheduled for February, which February 22nd through the 24th. So if you're in Hawaii or have a chance to go to this, because they have the creator of Thanos and the 2 guys who drew for Thanos are all going to be at the con together and doing a panel together, which I think would be really cool. And a lot of the other guests that they have to maybe reschedule with them, and then they're going to bring up some new people and try to make up and stuff like that.
So be able to come back.
Yeah, but I thought it was a big deal that they decided, they made the decision way ahead of time. Let's not do this, and then because that was it 2 years ago, that giant snowstorm hit New York when they were doing a Comic-Con there, and they couldn't even leave the hotel.
Yeah.
And so they just did the con in the hotel, and Stephen Amell and John Borman were doing karaoke all night one night, getting drunk, and see, now that stuff to me is cool. Our other hobby is our medieval reenactment group, and we've had events where a dust storm hits and knocks down half the site, or we have a big giant rainstorm and
we're camping.
We're all camping, and just everything kind of gets ruined. And those are my favorite things. Is everybody pulls all of their stuff together. We had one year where there's 3,000 people camping. A giant dust storm in February shows up, which never happens here. Knocks down half the tents on site.
Yep.
Most everybody goes home. And so everybody just decides who's left. There's about 1,000 people left on site. Everybody just decides to grab their coolers full of alcohol and meat. And they brought every barbecue, and we just went and sat under the big stone pavilion and had just one big giant party. And there was guys shirtless barbecuing. And we met a Japanese gentleman who
taught us all about all the different kinds of sake and unfiltered sake.
He had a milk crate full of sake from Japan, and he spoke 4 words of English, and we had a great time. It was just I love stuff like that. So, you missed out on that, but the right decision was to cancel. It was to reschedule. So I thought that was cool. I read a thing today too. There's only one person in the entire world who could fill Jack Burton's shoes.
And apparently it's
Dwayne
Johnson.
The Rock Johnson. They've been talking about doing a Big Trouble in Little China. It originally was a remake.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of in the flow of things for a while. And so they came out. One of the producers was interviewing. It might have been Frosty from Collider, the article I was reading, and he was saying that after they looked at everything and did the whole did the story group and did all that stuff, they kind of came to the realization that they really can't remake the movie. It's a motherfucking classic. You don't touch classics. You don't touch Back to the Future. You don't touch Big Trouble in Little China. You don't they try to do Ben-Hur, which was a mistake. You don't do Lawrence of Arabia. Yes, I just put Big Trouble in Little China in the same sentence as Lawrence of Arabia. They're fucking classics. And Ben-Hur. But they decided to just do it's the first movie is in the universe, the second movie is in the same universe. They're going to do a continuation of the story.
Okay.
That would make a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. And I'm not opposed to revisiting that world.
No, it makes complete sense. Just doing kind of like how they did Tron.
Yeah.
Tron was not really a retelling, but
or Jumanji.
Or Jumanji.
Which was
one of the things that they actually talked about in the article was, so they're filming Jungle Cruise right now. As soon as Johnson is done with that, he goes and does Calvin and Hobbes. No, Hobbes and and the Fast and Furious
Fast and
spinoff.
Furious, yeah.
So they filmed that next. Then he's got Jumanji 2,
Yeah.
which I'm super looking forward to, and then he's doing some political thriller, crime thriller with Gal Gadot right after that. So we're looking into probably not
2020.
not even next summer before they
Yeah.
start filming.
Yeah, it's going to be like 2020 before it comes out.
But it's Dwayne, and he does Ballers too. But he's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He'll
he's
do
got
like 2 or 3 movies in a year.
Oh yeah. We've seen 3 this year so far.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
I mean, they weren't all filmed this year, but you
Yeah,
know, they
yeah.
started last year.
But at first I'm like, you can't do this, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time, and you can't be continuation. Yeah, that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, they
and-
better make it campy like the first one. I'm sure they will.
Oh
but
yeah. Watch Rampage, and Rampage was kind of campy at times, and
Yeah. Well,
if they go full, he's got the comedy chops to do it, to go full camp.
so that's a little interesting because I mean, it wasn't offensive. Okay, I'm not Asian. Newsflash. So I can't I can't necessarily speak to this, but I don't feel that it was super inappropriate, but maybe a little, like, racially
for the time. It
for
was
the time, not at all.
For the time, it was a huge success for
even
for-
today-
I won't say huge, but it was a big success for the Asian, because you had 2 major characters who were Asian leads.
Right, and lots of exposure for a lot of
Yeah.
more minor characters
Yeah.
and people, but yeah, I mean, it's not offensive to me to watch. We just watched it again
Yeah.
like a couple weeks ago.
And strangely, it holds up.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's the camp, but yeah, I kind of there was a little bit of the.
There's a little bit of that, and if you lean into it and tell the joke, like if you lean into the joke of kind of the campiness of everything,
Yeah.
they tried to do that with Baywatch and it didn't work. So I'm a little
Yeah.
iffy there, but
Yeah.
okay,
So we'll see,
whatever.
but it could be. I
At
hope
this
it's
point,
good.
at this point in time, it's still in development, and 40 other things could happen. So
Right. It may not
it
even
may not
happen.
even happen.
Yep.
So Dominic Monaghan, who was from Lost, but more importantly, he was in Lord of the Rings, has been friends with J.J. Abrams for a really long time, and has spent a lot of time bugging J.J. before The Force Awakens about, I want to be in Star Wars. I'm a Star Wars fan. I want to be in Star Wars. I want to be in Star Wars. And J.J.'s like, no, we're going with a bunch of younger faces that people don't necessarily know, and Dominic's pretty big. I mean, he's got his own documentary series, so
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
got a pretty good.
I mean, they could have stuck him in like Daniel Craig or something, but
Right. But so he bugged him and bugged him and bugged him and bugged him and bugged him. So finally he got cast in episode 9. Now, at first, the internet was like, oh my God, Dominic Monaghan's going to be in Star Wars. And it's blah, 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 blah. Okay, we all flipped out when Benicio del Toro was cast in Last
Yeah,
Jedi. And
yeah.
he was in it for 8 minutes or
hot
whatever.
minute, yeah.
That's what I'm expecting here, because they've already been filming for a couple of 3 weeks
Yeah.
for episode 9. But it's cool that Dominic gets to be in it.
Yeah, and again, we'll see if he's a Benicio del Toro or a Daniel Craig.
I think he'll be more like the Benicio del Toro or Simon Pegg, where he has it's an important part, but not a big part.
Right. Yeah,
and that would seem
maybe.
like that would make a lot of sense for him. I really expect him to be a Resistance fighter,
Yeah, pilot, something like that. Yeah.
Actually, it'd be really cool to have him be like a mechanic,
Yeah.
like running around like the
Well,
crazy
that's,
mechanic kind of.
Ratzenberger.
Yeah,
in-
Ratzenberger from the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of character where he's like posed like, no, we need to put the supercharger on here so I can go faster like TIE fighters. And then Dominic's like, no, it's going to fall apart, man. Like something crazy would be just That's what I.
Caption,
Okay.
she's gonna blow.
That's what I want. That's okay. It's dumb. Okay, so our main topic today, now that we've gone, is Walking Dead. All right. Typing is
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. The big topic today is going to be the Big Bang Theory. Now, they announced last week that this coming up season, the 12th season, will be its final season.
Right.
And we talked about this last week about shows, maybe Big Bang Theory and Walking Dead, which we'll talk about next, maybe outliving their shelf life a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they announced that this was going to be the last big season, and or the last season. And then it came out the next day that the reason that the series is ending is because Jim Parsons is not going to renew his contract.
Okay.
They've been working with him and the rest of the main three on extensions for 2 years to do another 2 seasons. And they started the process, and in that process, Jim sat down with his husband and said, I really like this job. I'm ready to move on and do something else.
Yeah. It's been a while.
And it's been a while. It's been 10 years, 12 years of them doing this show. It's not like it's easy. It's easy filming, but it's still long days kind of thing.
Yeah. It's steady work in Hollywood, but, after a while, it's... And you can't... how many stories can you tell? Right?
Right. And leaving... so at this point in time, it's the highest rated comedy on TV. It's the longest running multi-camera show, so that not just one set. They have multiple sets and multiple camera angles and stuff like that in history. And by the time it gets done airing, it's had 279 episodes. So when you have a show like that still keeps getting ratings, as Walking Dead's the same way, when do you decide to end it? Well, you decide to end it when the guy, who is the reason why everybody watches, says, I love the show, but I need to do something else.
Right. Because it's just not going to be funny at all if Sheldon's not there.
Right. And young Sheldon apparently is doing well. The show, apparently is doing okay. And I don't think they're going to bring him in like some time
would be
wimey weird thing, whatever. And the creator of the show, Chuck Lorre, doesn't want to do the show without Parsons, Johnny Galick, and Kaylee
Coco.
Coach. You know what I'm talking. You know what we're talking about. And they're the three who can't be replaced in that show. Everyone else in that show can be replaced.
Okay, right.
Or shuffled in or out and stuff like that.
Right.
Like stuff.
Right.
The big talk that everybody's kind of complaining is that most of the main characters on that show are making right around $1 million an episode.
Yeah.
Jim Parsons is walking away from $50 million, and people are having a hissy fit.
He can do whatever he wants. Pretty sure it's a free country.
Right. Well, yes. But people aren't understanding that he wants to do other things. They see the price tag of $50 million to do another 2 seasons, and they can't get their heads wrapped around walking away. They're going to have syndication money for the rest of time.
Yeah, and at some point, for people like us, I get how that's a little hard to understand, but after 12 seasons or 13 seasons or whatever it ends up being, now they didn't make $1 million an episode in the beginning, but they've all got to have a pretty nice little nest egg, and they don't need to work for money, and they won't need money for the rest of their lives, and their kids won't need money, so they can go do their, we're talking about artists here. After a while, they want to go do their art.
And that was the thing that I like especially with Jim Parsons, because he's done some other stuff outside of Big Bang Theory.
He does some Broadway
stuff,
yeah.
And he did that. God, I can't remember what it's called, but it was a movie on Netflix. It was about gay suicides.
Oh yeah,
and stuff.
Yeah,
and he was a main character on that.
Was it on Netflix or HBO?
HBO, maybe it was HBO.
Like that, yeah.
And then he's going to be in the Ted Bundy movie, not as Ted Bundy, but he's going to be, although that would be awesome. But he's going to be, so he wants to expand his range, and
Right.
I'm never going to complain about somebody who's been successful wanting to do that.
Right.
I've done this. A lot of people back in the day, you got a job at 22. You worked until you were 68. You never left that job. You never left that little town. You went to the same church. You had the same friends. You drank the same beer. You went to you went to the same restaurants for 70 years, and then you died. Well,
Right.
that's how the old world thought. Now it's, we've both changed careers at least 3 times, and we're middle-aged-ish.
Not even jobs, careers. Like do something completely different than I used to do.
And I find that good. I find and actors should have the ability to be able to do that, especially actors, because they need to be able, and directors are the same way and stuff like that. So I just thought it was my first initial reaction was, okay, good, they're leaving, and then my next reaction was, well, it sucks that Jim Parsons is the one who's deciding, the production team and all of them are losing their jobs, but those people who work in production also understand that they work in production. The show could get canceled by some, what Last Man Standing was a top 10 show, got canceled because the guys at NBC or ABC or whatever didn't like what, or was it with Fox? I think they're moving to Fox. Didn't like
the political
stuff. That's, you work in. We have friends who work as key grips and PAs and all that kind of stuff. They understand that's their life, and
you're happy when you have work and you make really good money, but that work could go away at any point in time.
Right. And some people were complaining today too that it sucks. It sucks for those people, and Jim should make a point of giving some money to them, or
it's the industry.
Right, and that's why I wanted to bring this.
And it's not his fault that the show has morphed into all about Sheldon. I mean, that's not how it started.
He is the best actor on that show.
Yeah, I mean, you could. Johnny Galecki he was in that Time.
He's fun, and but he's like a 1 or 2 note actor.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, this is a comedy, and he was in that Timeless the one with with Justin Timberlake, and he played a completely
Time. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
He was like a drug addict or whatever, and he wasn't a great person in that one. So he's got some range, but I mean, I get it that most of the people on that show aren't going to be. They're going to struggle probably harder than Parsons to get out of that mold or whatever, but. It's not his fault. This is that the show now hinges on him, and
right, and
it's not going to go on forever.
The article
it's just not.
The article I read from New York Post today was saying when they got the cast together to make the announcement, Chuck Lorre was actually the one who brought the cast together, and they all got in a conference room and they talked. It was Chuck Lorre, a couple of the producers, and the cast, and that's all that was in the room.
Yeah, and
they kind of explained what was going on and what the thought process was, and Jim Parsons couldn't keep it. He was crying. He was upset, but he knew that this was the right decision for him, and probably the right decision for the show. I'd rather have a show do this than hang on for another 3 or 4 seasons without their main star, or have the main star who doesn't want to be there and it's just cashing a check. I want the show to still be good.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. If you're going to hold him captive, he's not going to give his all.
Right. And really, in the grand scheme of things, I want good people doing good work. And if that means they have to step away from things that aren't great and just okay, that's fine.
It's just if you or we were told we couldn't do what we wanted to do because of all the things the internet says, all these people are depending on you or whatever, and you didn't put yourself in that position. You're not like a business owner or what. I mean, even business owners, it's like, it's a free country. You can leave your job if you want to. You can go do something else if you want to.
That's the thing I talk about with my friends here is here in Arizona, we are a right to work state and we have unions, but they're not really.
They don't really have a whole lot of it.
They don't have a whole lot of power. They have some, but not really a whole lot. A lot of the power they have is because they're attached to AT&T or the electric workers union or stuff like that. And but I always have these friends who are like, I hate my job. I hate my job. I hate my job. I hate my job. I'm like, go find another one. Oh, I can't. Why can't you? Why can't? There's nobody chaining you to a desk.
Right.
You're not in indentured servitude, or anything like that. If you're miserable at a cube farm, why are you going every day?
Yeah. Do something to change it.
Else. You know what? We only live here for 70 to 100 years. Make it worth it.
If some people not even that much.
We've been going through some losses lately, and people aren't making it as long as they need to be, and so that's why I'm even more like, the job that I have is dumb. I have a dumb job. It's not super mental, whatever, but I like it because it gives me a lot of flexibility to do different things, and I'm not a cube farm guy. I'm never gonna make a ton of money at what I do, but I like what I do. I don't love it. What I love doing is this, talking about movies and TV shows and people being dumb on the internet. But I love doing that part, but I can't. I'm not making money doing that, so I have to go do a real job, mostly for the insurance, because I have a government job, and it's really good insurance. But I'm just really happy that he made a decision. They're sticking with it. They're in the show and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I thought that was cool. So a couple other things, and then we have a little different kind of thing that we want to talk about this afternoon. Walking Dead just hired Ryan Hurst. Ryan Hurst was Opie from Sons of Anarchy. He was just here at Comic-Con a couple years ago.
Our daughter got to
give
him a hug.
And stuff
she
like
was
that. Yeah.
She fangirled.
So the reason I bring this up is because we've been talking about The Walking Dead a lot, and about how they brought Negan in, and it still kind of wandered a little bit, and not really sure what they're doing. Well, the new showrunner has made a point of bringing in the Whisperers, and the Whisperers is from the comic, and they are, they are very disruptive. And
thinking about it, I bet you he's like the leader.
He's
of the
actually, so his character name is called Beta, and he's the second in charge of the Whisperers.
Okay.
And so it says. His Walking Dead role, Beta, is probably most recognized as the guy who wears the dark skin mask over his face. In Kirkman's comics, the character serves as I'm behind that thing. Serves as the lieutenant of the Whisperers, a crew of post-apocalyptic hoodlums who survive among the living dead by donning suits of human flesh. And so and then the Alpha, who's the main leader, was Samantha Morton, who just got cast too. So the two of them are going to be in the season, and so super disruptive. And the new showrunner has already promised, like, we're going back to seasons 3 and 4 when it was really good. That's that pacing, that timing, that kind of storytelling, that kind of stuff. That's what we're going to. And Andrew Lincoln's leaving, so they need to do something to bring people in. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, since we've been talking about them a lot.
I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Flash. At this point in time, we're invested in it. It's kind of hard to get away from it at this point in time. We're going to talk about the box office for just a second from the weekend. Mostly, we're going to talk about Crazy Bitch Asians. Crazy Rich Asians. And the reason we're bringing this up is because we talked about it last week on how it was getting really good word of mouth, and it had a really good opening weekend, and it was all Asian cast, and how it was affecting the Asian community, and how everybody was super excited about it. Well, the reason I bring it up this week is because it had a 6% drop.
Not a 60.
Not a
not
60.
a 16.
A 6%
6.
drop.
Which is
It
like
made
unheard of.
It made a little less, a little less than $1 million less than last week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Which means the word of mouth on this movie is
Yeah.
way better than we ever talked about. Like it's
Yeah.
way beyond everything.
Now, to be fair, there's not a whole lot out.
There's not a ton out, and a lot of the stuff that's already out has been out for a little while. Meg's been out for 4 weeks.
Yep.
Mission Impossible has been out for 5 weeks or whatever. But yeah, there's not a ton out right now. But the fact that this movie got made with an Asian director and an Asian writer and all Asian cast, and it's being widely regarded as amazing. Apparently, Dennis Zen, in his conversation on Collider Live today, went and saw Searching with
Yes. we went
Johnny
to see
Cho.
that. Yes.
He said that is even better than Crazy Rich Asians. And so, like there's this kind of this Asian... we talked about this over dinner.
It's Asian explosion.
Is an Asian explosion. And I won't call it the yellow front because that's just wrong. But somebody was trying to do that earlier today, and I'm like, you can't be saying that. This is on I want to say a smaller scale, but it is kind of on a smaller scale, the equivalent of Black Panther for the Black community here in the States. Now, Black Panther is a completely different thing for the Black community here, and the Black community here in the States is much larger than the Asian community, but still it's having the same essential effect.
Yeah.
It's bringing in tons more money than anybody ever expected. It's getting huge praise by everybody.
Yep.
And everybody's looking at the movie going, well, if they're doing, I mean, they've already optioned the second one.
Yeah.
If they're, so a lot of the Asian community people who are looking for opportunities in the movie industry are looking at this movie going, see, we can do this.
Yeah.
And it's Hollywood, and Hollywood always does we won't risk anything until somebody risks everything.
Yeah.
And then everybody gloms onto that idea.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense because was it H Brothers movies that have been fairly popular recently, they're almost entirely like made overseas,
In
right?
China.
Which
China's the main hub. Yeah.
And so a lot of those actors and directors and stuff are getting U.S. exposure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you would think that Hollywood would be like, oh, they're not world beaters, but it's an independent movie studio. So,
Yeah.
they're doing okay.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm all about, how do I word this without sounding racist?
Diversity.
It's not even about diversity for me.
Well, diversity makes
Yes.
different things. You get to
Yes.
see something that's not the same thing you see every time.
But it's not necessarily, for me, it's not necessarily about diversity. I just want the best stuff.
Right.
And I don't care who it comes from. So
Right.
And
But if you've got white bread all the time, then you're always going to have white bread sandwiches. But
Bread
if
makes you
you
fat.
get some bread makes you fat. But if you get some whole wheat and some rye and some pumpernickel in there,
some flatbread, some tortillas, some Rice Krispie treats. No, that's not what they're called. What are they called?
Rice cakes?
Rice cakes.
No, those are horrible.
But I just think it's awesome that they're the story around this movie. Dennis Zen actually said it pretty well. He's like, this movie isn't necessarily for me. It's a rom-com. I'm not necessarily a rom-com fan, but what's actually going on around it is more important than the movie itself. And that's kind of what happened with Black Panther. The story around Black Panther was awesome. Like I made the joke that it was a Bond movie dressed in his superhero clothes.
Yeah.
But the story around Black Panther was more important than actually Black Panther itself.
Yeah, and we said that there were a lot of people at that movie that would never go to a Marvel movie. And a lot of people went and saw it in the movie theater, and it's kind of the same thing here.
Same thing, yeah.
There's people who would not maybe necessarily go to a rom-com that are going to go because they identify with the people on the screen.
Right as we sit right now, this is on third on my list of movies that are coming out that are out right now that I want to see. Black Klansman is on that list, but we keep trying to find it, and it's just not,
Yeah, we might have to.
We
We
might
might
have
have
to
to drive a little
try-
bit to see it this week.
But the three movies that I'm really interested in watching right now are Black Klansman, Happy Time Murders, and Crazy Rich Asians.
And Searching.
And Searching, which isn't out till next weekend.
Okay.
Or the weekend after. I'm just saying right now, these three movies are the movies that are out that I really care about seeing. And it's three different, like I was saying, I just want the best stuff. I don't care what it is. I don't care where it comes from. I just want the best stuff. So give me the three different angles. And we're killing puppets. We're talking about black KKK members. And we're talking about a rom-com. That's exactly what I'm talking about. I just want really cool stuff, and I don't really care what it is.
Right.
I don't care about Slender Man.
No. Well, he's not a horror movie guy.
I'm not a horror guy. Okay, so we're going to talk about the rest of this episode. We're going to talk about three movies. I have three movies. You have three movies, right?
I do have three movies. Are we going to go back and forth? We didn't really talk about this beforehand.
We can go back and forth.
I
We can go back and forth. There's no order to this at all.
Okay. All right.
Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, we can go back and forth.
Okay.
You do one, I'll do one. You do one,
Okay.
I'll do one. We do
You
one.
go, I go. You go, I go.
Okay.
You go, I go.
All right.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. The reason we're doing this, A, we talked about how it's kind of the dog days of summer. But B, the other reason too is that I got tagged in this Facebook challenge thing last week, and it's you. Every day for 10 days, you post a movie that inspired you with no explanation.
That affected you.
Affected you,
Yeah.
or I've been doing it as how it's inspired me, or how it's affected me. Because there's one in there, I'll say it, Creepshow 2 affected me negatively. I still can't swim in water where I can't see the bottom.
Yeah. True story.
43 years old. But that got us talking about movies. As I'm trying to think of movies that affected me over the years, I'm having to reevaluate what it means to affect me outside of favorite movies. There's a different
Right.
conversation between the two.
Right.
It's been really easy for me to go Martian, Star Wars, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Scott Pilgrim, although Scott Pilgrim was on that list. But having that conversation has been like, okay, so let's have it here now. So I'm like, let's do 5. I don't want to do 5. Let's just do 3 movies that affected us, positive, negatively, whatever. 3 that I have are all positive. But
Yeah, I don't know that mine are not positive, but okay. Are we
Right.
going?
Yes, go.
All right. Well, I did my normal, so I have the year it came out and the director and all that stuff. So I actually look like I know something. Okay. So in no particular order, the first one I have is P.S. I Love You. And, me and the daughter and the granddaughter all went and got our nails
Mani-pedis.
did. We got pedicures a couple weeks ago, and it was on TV, and my daughter and I are both like watching it. I was like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love this movie. So it was, now my phone's being dumb. Okay, 2007. Richard LaGravancy,
Sure.
I don't know, was the director. Hilary Swank, Gerard Butler, Jeffrey Dean Morgan. There's actually a bunch of people in this movie. Like, we're watching it going, oh my God, I forgot they were in this.
I have to go back and rewatch everything.
Everything. So it's just, it's, I wouldn't say it's a rom-com. It's because it's not necessarily
a romantic movie.
funny.
It's a romantic movie.
Yeah.
It's more of a hardship movie.
It's kind of like The Notebook, it's kind of like
It is built to make women cry.
yes, and it did.
That's
And
pretty.
it did.
I'm not trying to be sexist or
But
anything, but
no.
that's what it's built for. So
But in thinking about it, and like you said, we've had a lot of people that have passed away recently or are struggling recently with health issues. And, okay, spoilers if you haven't seen this movie. It's,
it's from 2007.
I know. So Gerard Butler and Hilary Swank are married. He dies. That kind of all happens before the movie. He knew he was dying. He's Irish. I don't think that I think Gerard Butler's like Welsh or something.
Yeah, something
but
like that.
in the movie, he's Irish. And so he plans out this, like every month for a year, things. She gets packages and things in the mail from him, you know, from
Reminders
the afterlife.
Yeah.
and and it's stuff like, he plans a trip for her at one point. You know, he tells her to go to this travel agent, and he had gone into the travel agent and he had booked this whole trip for her to go to Ireland to see where he grew up. And then she meets Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who was his best friend, and they end up falling in love. But it was just kind of having had a husband die, not telling you need to do this, but it was like a connection. You know, she goes to all the places that he went, and people are like, "Oh yeah, he was great." And he talked. And it was good.
It was good for connecting with him, but it was good for her
to move on.
Yeah, like he's giving her the okay.
Yeah.
As they go
and
along.
In the beginning, she's just like mad that he did this stuff, and then as it goes along, she starts to kind of have more fun with it, and yeah.
Well, mine is completely different than that one.
Of course it is.
And for a very different. Two of my movies are for kind of the same reasons, but I'll get into it. But my first one I'm going to talk about is Fight Club. And the reason I'm going to talk about Fight Club is, and she's going to roll her eyes at me. I know she was going to roll her eyes. The reason I pick Fight Club for movies that inspired me is it was the first movie where I had to sit down and think about. It's the first movie I remember sitting down and having to think about the movie.
Yeah.
It changed my movie going experience.
Yeah.
It forced me to go back and watch the details and learn about the extra stuff that goes on in the background and director's commentary and all that stuff. It was directed by David Fincher. It came out in 1999. We didn't get it until 2001 on DVD.
Yeah.
It was the first DVD we bought when we bought a DVD player. We were a holdout. We had a bunch of VHS stuff. We're a holdout. It's fucking expensive. We're not going to do that, whatever. And then some friends of mine that I was working with said, you have to buy the DVD and watch it, and you have to watch the director's commentary and all this stuff like that. Yeah. And that started me down the path of, I kind of already knew that I felt this way about movies, but I kind of said it last week. We are movie lovers. We're not cinephiles. And so I love sitting down and watching a movie and learning about the movie making process, and I didn't understand that until I saw this movie.
Yeah.
And actually just saw everything that happened with it. And
in the business, we call this a cigarette burn.
Boop. I gotta figure out how to put a cigarette burn up here somehow. But it was a big deal to me because that kind of was the first step in this process of learning more about movies. And then a few years later, we took a movie class. Because we needed some electives, and so we took a movie class together, and so that also kind of helped me down the line of relearning how to watch movies. And that kind of sounds weird because I was always just look shinies on the screen, and I think that's fun. You
went from a passive movie watcher to
a very very
interactive movie watcher. Yes,
and I don't ever want to get to that point where I can not turn off the criticalness and just be able to sit down and enjoy a movie.
Yeah.
I enjoy Last Jedi. I really enjoy Last Jedi. I know where the faults and the issues and the things and everything. That movie is not ruined for me because of that. And I think people with a much more critical mind don't allow themselves to look at that movie and see the greatness that is that movie.
Yeah.
And so I never want to get to that point, but I want to be an active participant in my movie watching process. So that was why I picked it first. So go.
Okay. My next one.
Oh, by the way, I said 1999. Yes.
1999.
1999.
Okay. My next one is Rob Roy. 1995. Michael Caton Jones was the director.
Yes.
Sure. Liam Neeson, Jessica Lange, Tim Roth. It's another one of those movies where there's a bunch of people and you're like, oh my God, I forgot they were in this. And the reason why I picked this one is because of our other hobby, when the historical reenactment stuff that we do. And, Braveheart was a big deal. I had Kingdom of Heaven on here. And I'm like, my husband might pick Kingdom of Heaven. And Rob Roy was the one that I really like. I just wanted to walk through the screen and just be there. I just wanted to do that for the rest of my life.
1700s, 1700s.
Yeah, and it wasn't, it wasn't
Scotland,
even necessarily the time period so much as just I don't know. I emotionally connected with their life and their I love Jessica Lange in that movie. I will think of you dead until my husband makes you so, and then I will think on you no more.
That was the movie where I saw Tim Roth really for the first time and went, who is that? And why is he not in everything?
Ass in this movie.
I love actors who can make you hate them on every level.
Yeah.
And cheer for when they die. And then you watch him in the next movie and you love him.
Yeah.
I just love actors who have that range and that
Pulp
ability.
Fiction.
Just all the, and he is a super underrated actor who needs to get more pub for who he is and just stuff like
definitely.
that. Yeah. And Liam Neeson and this. Okay, I'm going to go back. Mine's Braveheart. Big surprise. But the sword fight in the ends Rob Roy.
Yeah. The claymore versus
the claymore versus the rapier and the different styling and the kind of the Highland way compared to the court way and they make a point of showing the fatigue. I love it's because I've spent a lot of time sword fighting over the last 25 years. It's exhaustive.
Yeah.
Especially when you're fighting for your life, essentially.
Yeah.
And they actually show that. They show it in the Robin Hood with Uma Thurman too.
Yeah.
They do a really good job with the sword fight, and that's one of the things that it takes away from the Robin Hood with Kevin Costner, is that the sword fighting never slows down, and the target archery is a little weird. I can spend a whole diatribe on how bad Prince of Thieves is. My next one is Braveheart. 1995, Mel Gibson. It's not anywhere close to historically accurate. We talked about it a bunch last week with the trailer for The Outlaw King,
right?
With Chris Pine, that whole time period and stuff like that. The reason this movie affected me so much is 95, I was 20 years old.
Yep.
We weren't even dating yet.
Nope.
We went, I was, in our organization, we have kings and dukes and knights and all that kind of stuff. And the gentleman who was my knight at that point in time, my teacher, for layman terms, we actually drove to Southern California, to San Diego, went to a 3-day event out there, camping and fighting for 3 days, got in the car, drove home, took a shower, and went to go see Braveheart on opening weekend. And the scene where William Wallace gets knighted is the two of us in the back of the theater crying like little babies because it was so emotionally charging for us. And having the dream of being a knight in shining armor, although William Wallace's armor is not shiny, but the idea of being a knight in shining armor and saving a damsel in distress and all that kind of stuff is just it affected me in a way of, I want to be able to do that someday.
Yeah.
I want to be able to walk into a room and have somebody smack me across the face and say, you're a knight. Now, I'm not a knight in real life. That would be really cool too. But I'm a knight in an organization that's worldwide, and it carries weight for me. I'm a knight when I'm at an event, and I'm a knight when I'm not at an event. So it affected me that way.
And they didn't slap him across the face. They punched him in the chest.
Punched me in the chest, and I almost fell off the stage.
Okay, so my number 3 is Who Killed the Electric Car? 2006.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Now listen. Chris Payne is the director, and it's a documentary, but there were a lot of stars in it. So Martin Sheen was in it, Tom Hanks, Mel Gibson, mostly because they had electric cars that were taken away. And so if you haven't seen this, first of all, why? Go watch it. Chevy came out with an electric car in the early 2000s, and I don't remember what the name of it was, but they had a lease program, and it was kind of just you just lease it forever if that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
But they wouldn't sell them, so you had to kind of like buying property in Mexico, right? You can't actually own it,
Right.
but you can lease it forever. Except eventually they came around to everybody that owned these cars and said, we're taking them back. Here's a check. Thanks. Bye. Except a lot of these stars and a lot of other people were like, no, I don't want you to take my car. I love my car. I love the fact that it's electric, and I love my car, and it doesn't matter how much money you give me. Big hoopla. They're like, no, we've got to take them back, and and they're like, what are you going to do with them? And we're going to dismantle them, and we're going to, because one of the big things with electric cars is how you're going to get rid of the batteries, right? Because they're dangerous. They could leach into the ground and that kind of thing. And and these people are all like, we have electric car because we're trying to save the planet. What are you going to do with them? We're going to dismantle them, and we're going to study them, and we're going to take the information that we've learned and make better batteries, because that was one of the things that they were concerned about, was that the battery life wasn't long enough. Although in this documentary they found that there was this guy that actually came up with and patented, I think, a longer life battery, and Chevy came in and bought it from him and then just
never did anything
and threw it away. And what actually happened was they filmed it. They like secretly filmed them taking all these electric cars away. They brought them here to Arizona to the GM testing grounds, which is probably 15 miles from our house, and crushed them. And they flew over, and they had pictures of it, and people were very upset because there was no reason to take the cars away. They all wanted them. So the reason why that affected me was because I think that's the first movie that I ever watched that, I mean, it made me mad. I told everybody I knew, watch this movie. I've watched a lot of them. Now I listen to podcasts at work recently, and I've done a lot of true crime stuff. It's more like and true crime's kind of not the best, like
true story.
Yeah, it's like innocent. The one I just got done listening to is about it's called In the Dark, and it's about this guy Curtis Flowers in Mississippi, who's been tried 6 times for murder, and it keeps getting thrown out because we don't live in an area that's anything like this, but basically because he's a black man and the guy prosecuting him's a white man, and he keeps it's pretty bad. But I could, in my other life I was a political activist. If I actually wasn't shy and
introverted. She's not shy, she's introverted.
I go out there and
I force her to go out and do stuff.
He does
on a regular basis.
Like this.
It's like this.
But it made me like socially aware. And the one about, I don't remember what the name of it was, but about the lady that spilled the coffee.
Yeah, the McDonald's.
And that one made me mad too, because I mean, she was seriously injured, and it became the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Do you want your soapbox for now? You want to keep going?
I could keep going.
All right. God, I feel like a douchebag with my choices. Jesus Christ. All right.
Sorry.
This one actually is personal. It wasn't personal until it became personal. Does that make sense? feel like a douche going after you.
Sorry.
2009's Fanboys.
No, it's a good movie.
It's a great movie. The way it affected me, how do I explain this story? I was a kid who wanted to be a popular kid. So I played sports, and I tried to hang out with the popular kids, and I tried to be part of the group, even though I kind of was rebellious. And I'm a goofy and obnoxious and kind of special at times, but I'm also charming and funny. At least that's what I tell myself. But I never really fit in that popular crowd, but always wanted to be part of that popular crowd. So I did a bunch of stuff that probably limited my growth as a person to try to fit into the mold of what that was. Now, come 2009, I'm still trying to do that as an adult. I'm still trying to be that, trying to fit myself into the mold of whatever I think is the popular kids, and doing what I can to try to be part of that group. And I watch Fanboys, and really the movie is about four friends trying to help their one friend see Star Wars before he dies of cancer. And it's a road trip movie. But in that movie, there's a character. Talk amongst yourselves. Linus. I'm like, it's Linus. No, it's not Linus. Who, after high school, goes and works for his dad at the car dealership.
Yep.
And runs away from him. No, Eric. Linus is the one dying of cancer.
Yeah.
Eric is the one.
Eric.
Bottler. Yeah.
Bottler.
I swear I know this movie.
Bottler Motors.
Yeah. And Eric and Linus were going to start a comic book together. And Eric ditches him to go work for his dad. And Linus is the one who ends up dying of cancer. Spoilers. It's a 10-year-old movie. And I immediately identified with Eric. Like, immediately. He did something because he felt like this is what I have to do to be accepted, and got away from all the stuff that he liked. And then there's a transition. They go to Vegas. There's a transition, and he shows up back in uniform, which is a long sleeve t-shirt with a Star Wars shirt over the top of it. And him by the end of the movie goes and writes this comic book.
Yep.
And actually gets it published and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying that I ever wanted to do a comic book, but I've always tried to fit myself into that, what I perceive should be the thing that, I went to college because I was told I have to go to college. I went, I have to do this and I have to be part of this group, and I didn't really understand that until I saw this movie. And the only reason I saw this movie is because it was Star Wars based.
Yeah.
And it's completely stupid and dumb, but it's the weirdest places where you find inspiration.
Yeah.
And or maybe I was at a right time in my life where I was reevaluating, who I was or what I was doing. I was becoming much more of an adult and in positions of leadership and stuff like that. And why do I make decisions the way I do and whatever? So that was like, here it is. Like, it's okay to be who you want to be and who you choose to be and whatever. And that's why I talk about a lot now. I love when people are like, Emma Fyffe is like my current like crush, because she's like, fuck you, I like anime and I like playing D&D and
I'm goofy and crazy and awkward.
Yeah, and Joe Manganiello is the same thing. Like, he's supposed to be this big strapping, action guy who loves playing D&D, you know, and is a super Star Wars nerd, like, it's like stuff like that. And it's just that kind of stuff kind of came because I saw Fanboys, and it kind of affected me that way. And my choice isn't nearly as cool as yours.
Sure it is. It's a personal thing.
Right. It's totally a personal thing. I might list the movies I've done.
Yes, I love you. Come on.
Yeah. I've almost done The American President, only because of that speech at the end.
Oh,
Because he
yeah.
pretty much tells his opponent to fuck off without saying fuck off. Is all amazing. In my list of movies that it affected me, is that what we decided?
Yeah.
So Cannonball, Smokey and the Bandit. Like the first Smokey and the Bandit. Like if I ever get money, I'm buying a fucking Trans Am. Like if I ever have enough money, I'm buying the Bandit Trans Am, which are fucking expensive right now.
Yeah.
I picked Scott Pilgrim versus the World because it's Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's one of the best movies ever made, and nobody's ever seen it.
Except those of us who have seen it, and we've seen it a
million
million times.
And then like Fanboys and stuff like and Princess Bride and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just been. I just love this. Like this. We should have just done this the whole episode, like just talking about these movies. Maybe we'll still do that down the line. That's our show this week for the big show. What did you guys think? Are you upset that Jim Parsons is the reason Big Bang Theory is going away? Are you looking forward to Walking Dead the more and more you hear about it? What movies have inspired you in your life to make your life better or make you question things or whatever? Let us know in the comments. Be nice. Please, like I said earlier, please subscribe to our channel and share with all your friends. You can get a hold of us, too, on our social media network. PopCultureCult on Facebook, PopCultureCult1 on Instagram, Pop_Cult1 on Twitter. We're also on the Stardust app. You can download it for free, react 30-second reactions to everything you're watching. We just did Hardcore Henry on Friday. We finally got to see Hardcore Henry. Quick review, fucking awesome.
Yes.
And go see it. I'm glad we didn't see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
And that's our show for this week. Until next week's big show. Where's my mouse? Good night now.